Here is your podcast.
You know, I've been doing this show 9 years. In the beginning, it was great. I got to show up and just talk and leave. That was fantastic. But now Mex sends me this theme song, tells me to put my own voice in it. Lily shows up. She doesn't produce a goddamn thing. All she does is laugh, turn around, and go home. The only thing I don't wind up doing for this show is listen to it. That's your fucking job. Hey, what's happening? Mike Schmidt, 40-year-old boy podcast. Do I sound different? Do I sound weird? Do I sound strange? Do I sound better or worse? I'm going to let you guys decide. How about that? This is what happens when you got a throat full of fire ants, folks, when you've spent 4 days not talking to fucking anybody and just sitting in your house because you've been coughing and coughing and coughing. How bad am I coughing? Well, let's give you one right now. Hi, how you doing? That's been going on for fucking 5 days. I lost my voice Thursday at the Cub game with Pardo, and then I talked all through it. I thought I'd be okay, and no, it was gone all weekend long. I actually Ubered, dudes. I fucking Ubered for 14 hours on Saturday this sick. I had a 102-degree fever. I am the patient zero of fucking Los Angeles. I made as many people sick as I possibly could because that's what I do. I reach out to people. I try to embrace them, and I try to hold them in my fucking toxic embrace. I wasn't going to record this intro, but my voice actually, believe it or not, recovered enough to where I thought I could go ahead and do this. And maybe I can do some plugs and stuff and tell you what's up. I'm doing a rerun. I put it up. I asked people on Facebook. You know, I feel weird because a lot of you dudes out there don't get to vote because you don't have Facebook. And I didn't Twitter it because it just seems stupid and indulgent to go ask people on Twitter, hey, guys, what part of my voice do you want to fucking hear this week? Hold on. That's fucking weird. It's like that's like a thing that just kind of happens because I mean I'm keeping it down now and trying to talk just normally. But if I push my voice, that happens. So imagine talking all fucking weekend to people who climbed into my goddamn car and asking them where they were going and telling them if they wanted the radio turned up, I could do that for them. Hi, how you doing? I've got thumbtacks in my throat because I sound like a fucking goof. When your voice is your living, and by the way, I use that very sparingly, that phrase. It's never good when this fucking shit happens. So I'll just do some fast nonsense. First of all, thank you for helping out Lily, man. That was so cool of all you guys. You stepped up. I wanted it to cross over to her burlesque people, her magic people, and it really has. You know, you guys shared it a lot of times and gave a lot of dough, and I actually bumped up the amount that I wanted to get for her. You guys really showed her a lot of love, and that was fantastic because, you know what, fuck this. She deserves it. She works her ass off for all the people in her life, and I meant what I said, and I meant what I wrote when I typed. She's never asked me for anything. She's only asked me maybe a little help with a project or something, or to review something she may have written, but she's never asked me for anything. And I mean, I don't pay her or David nearly enough. So thank you so much for making up the shortfall of my career and taking care of her in the time of need. Please go to MikeSchmidtComedy.com. We got all the cool stuff on the Joe Business page. The Amazon link's the most important thing, of course, because why is that a hard word? Because there you go. I got it out. Because that's stupid. Because so that's the important thing, the Amazon link. Go use our Amazon link and buy some stuff, and that's cool. It helps the show out, helps all of us out. You get stuff, they get money, we get money, everybody's happy. 2020 got canceled last week, which sucked. So my apologies if you bought tickets. I don't know if you've checked with Lily or she's checked with you because, again, she's got one fucking eye. What a fucking mess this show is. I can't talk. Lily's got one fucking eye. And Max is tired because he was jet lagged from being in Las Vegas over the weekend and celebrating his wedding anniversary. So he's ahead of the game. So all inquiries this week should go to fucking David. Go ahead and write him and see what he has to say. And I want to plug these again because I don't know if you've heard. You may have listened or you might not have listened, but I'm proud of both of them. I did Monster Party, my friend's podcast, Matt Weinhold. It was really fun and great, and he's been really cool and reached out to me. And said the feedback has been really great, so thank you. And I did Travel Tales with Mike Siegel. Sorry, Travel Tales. Yeah, literally, my uvula is going to explode, and then your fucking ears are going to be showered with Mike Schmidt throat matter. Do you want that to happen? I don't think you do. But let's see. Let's just push it. Let's just talk until the fucking thing explodes like a goddamn Mylar balloon. So Travel Tales podcast with Mike Siegel. I talked about Kuwait, some stuff you'll probably hear me talk about in the coming weeks, and I should post. You know what? Because this fucking week there's no real show. I mean, it's a rerun show, which is great, but I'll post some of the stuff from Kuwait that I didn't post, and I'll tell you this fucking blows. I had stuff on my phone from Kuwait, a bunch of stuff. Well, I updated my fucking iPhone, and now my iPod or my MacBook won't fucking read it because I got a MacBook from 2008. And they're like, oh, yeah, no, we just got to get a new MacBook. Oh, okay, thanks, Apple. Thanks for fucking telling me that before I fucking updated, you cocksuckers, because now I got a hockey puck in my goddamn pocket. Not really. I mean, it's just chock full of stuff. They want you to use the cloud, and fuck using the cloud. I mean, because honestly, on my phone, there may be a straight picture of my cock. I don't think we need that in the cloud, do we? A straight picture or 10? So fuck, I don't think that's anything we want to have up in the cloud for anybody to go ahead and steal, or not even steal, inadvertently wind up with. Nobody wants to fucking steal pictures of my cock, but who knows? They go to download something else, and that fucking shows up. They're like, oh, brutal. Sorry, I did one for you. I didn't know the more would come. God, my throat hurts, dudes. And I know people told me, they're like, dude, don't record an intro and go to the doctor. I should tell you this. I went to the doctor, or I didn't go to the doctor. I called my doctor to get an appointment. And they told me, because again, when you're a fucking poor person with Obamacare insurance, which is awesome. I'm not shitting on it. It helps me out, and it's helped me out every time I've needed it to. But when I called and I said, hey, look, I'm all fucked up. I'm coughing up like liquefied Kermit the Frog, man. It's fucking brutal. I mean, I am it literally, I am just Linda Blaring all over my fucking house. Went through a whole box of Kleenex of just that thing where you cough up and just reach over and spit. Dude, fucking nasty. And I didn't talk for like 3 days. I tried to make sure. And this is the funny thing, Lily and I are trying to fucking check on one another. So I'm texting her. I'm like, hey, how you doing over there? Sorry. Hey, how you doing over there? And she can't read. So then she fucking calls me and she's like, don't talk. I just wanted to tell you I'm fine. It was just fucking nonsense. I can't talk to her to ask how she is, and she can't read my texts, and so she fucking what a dude. We're old, and I'm almost dead. So I did call my doctor, and he wouldn't see me. He's like, he didn't say he wouldn't see me. The fucking, the guards at the castle fucking moat said, hey, let's check with him right now. He's booked all week. Well, I mean, that's fine, but I mean, I'm dying. Or I'm not dying, but I can't fucking breathe, and I can't talk, and my voice, I need my fucking voice. Listen, go out. I got 10,000 people to tell you for sure I need my voice. That seems high. No, that's not high. Fuck, I think it's right on the number. That's right on the number. I keep track. Believe me, fuck, I definitely know. So they were like, yeah, he'll prescribe something for you. So a couple days, a day went by and they didn't call me. And I called them the next day and she's like, oh yeah, we called it into your pharmacy. You didn't get it? I'm like, no, you're supposed to fucking call me. So I've been on, not Ziplomax, or I don't know who the fuck knows. Something with a Max in it or a Mycin. I got a Max or a Mycin inside me right now. Max or Mycin. That'd be a fun ass cartoon. That's a cartoon they should make to make kids fucking not do drugs. Max and Mycin, like that, just two fucking pills that run around and fuck people up. There you go. Look at me inventing shit, even though I'm in a fucking flu haze cloud, whatever the fuck. Because that's the best part. Just when the doctor's like, oh yeah, from your symptoms, I know what I should prescribe. Well, I got a Max or a Mycin flowing through me now, and listen to my fucking voice. I guess it's better. You know what I mean? Actually, I had to drive today, man. It's fucking Wednesday, and I bonuses and money indicate that I have to be out there and fucking making cash. Ugh. And I try not to cough in the car because then people are like, dude, you're fucked up. I'm like, this is great. Let's have a fun ride. But over the weekend, dude, I had 102 degree temperature. On Saturday, I drove 14 hours. I'm in a hoodie and fucking sweatpants and I'm wringing sweat out of a dish towel that I brought with me, or a fucking hand towel. And it was grim, and I every time people would get in the car, because normally I give my speech, whatever, and I have some personality, people would get in the car and I'd go, I'm talking this way because I've lost my voice. I'm not some weird whispering creep. I just want you to know that. Let's talk about the heat or the radio now, because if you want to have a conversation, it's going to have to hit the radio off because I can't talk. And they were all very nice. Everybody was very pleasant. But the thing was, I kept saying I lost my voice screaming at the game, and nobody even thought to themselves, well, did you maybe lose your voice because you have fucking throat AIDS, you idiot? Could that be what happened? Could you have lupus mumps somewhere in your fucking diaphragm? Is that what's going on? I don't fucking know. But people are people, and why should it be that you and I should get along so awfully when I'm so sickly? So please go and, like I said, check out the Monster Party and check out the Mike Siegel, Travel Tales. Check that out. We'll have a real show next week, or I'll be talking. I'll be back to normal, I hope. And check on me, man. I'm lonely. I'm sad. Like, this is another thing. When you're sick and then fucking nobody's, it's literally me and Lily back and forth and we can't talk to one another. How sad is this? I'm reaching out for friends. Pathetic. Because, most of the time I just sit in the fucking house and stare anyway, because my head's all fucking screwed up for the past 2 months. But I've talked about that on here. All right, so, but yeah, when you're 50 and you just, because I spend most of my life wanting somebody to tell me everything's going to be okay. And I talked about that a few episodes ago. And now when you got 102-degree fever for 2 days or 3 days and your doctor won't even fucking see you, you're like, holy shit, how bad have things fucking gotten? I can't even get a medical professional to get me in there and fucking Hippocratic my oath. So there you go. So I'm around, man. I'm here. I'm working. I'm driving and trying to stay alive. And what the fuck? Taking odd jobs. I'll talk about that next week when I got time. Taking odd jobs. I'm like that fucking idiot who lived next door to Tim Allen and peeked over his fence. The fuck? Who am I? I'm a fucking handyman. I'm so fucking awful. Listen to these dying fucking whales. This is it. It's over. All right, man. So fuck. Use the Amazon link. Now I'm yawning. Fuck. That's just me getting air into my body because I've been fucking sleeping in a chair. Dudes, what a failure. I thought about this. Some guy was in the car tonight and I had to drive him to the comedy store and he's telling me he's going to see like Bill Burr and all these comics. I'm like, that's fucking amazing. And he's like, you know what podcasts are? And I'm like, it's funny you would fucking ask. Because normally I don't fucking say anything to anybody. So, hey, Mikey, if you're listening, hi, how are you? Mikey might be a new listener. He might not be. Who knows? I told him, I go, download tomorrow's episode because it'll be an older episode because I can't fucking talk. I shredded my throat. But he was super cool. We had a great talk about comedy and comedians and all sorts of fun stuff and podcasting and hopefully he's on board. But I still felt like a failure. I even said that to him at the end of the ride. He's like, man, he goes, why don't you just fucking park and jump in and do a set? I go, because they wouldn't even let me in the fucking door, man. Because I'm Uber Jackson driving you in a fucking town with a bleeding throat. Nobody wants to fucking hear me go on stage and rope. Because that's exactly what it'll be. Is I'll just be roping fucking blood threads out of my goddamn throat, hitting people in the goddamn eye. Right now, literally, if I cough enough, I think my uvula is going to hop out of my body like Ned Beatty's head in The Thing and just sprout legs and walk the fuck away. God damn it. But I think I got one new listener, Mike. He said he's going to check out the website and download the thing. And if he does, great. And I told him, I go, write me and I'll get you a year of the show and you can fucking listen to it. But he's not going to, because it's happened like 2 other times and nobody ever fucking contacted me because people are drunk. What the fuck they know? Nothing against you, Mike, if you're listening. Good for you. So again, fucking go to MikeSchmidtComedy.com, use the Amazon link. Thank you so much for helping Lily. Please keep helping Lily's GoFundMe. I know we hit the goal twice. But I mean, it's just fucking great what you're doing for her, and it's really going to help her out in the long run. And she's got so many other things that she's got to take care of. She's got living expenses, and she's got to still stay immobile for like 2 weeks, and then fucking can't work for 2 months. And what you're doing is a great thing. It's a really fucking great thing. So keep helping Lily out with the GoFundMe, and because especially if we get to 10 grand, I get half. She doesn't know that yet. I rigged the GoFundMe, so it'll be this automatic drain of half the account. How funny would that be? What if I was that guy? What if I set up the fake GoFundMe and I fucking bailed with 5 grand? That's all it meant to me. I fleeced you guys for fucking 5 grand and split. What a jagoff. All right, man. So please listen to fucking Monster Party, Matt Weinhold's podcast with me and a bunch of dudes having fun. Listen to me talk to Mike Siegel about Kuwait, and listen to this fucking show because you know what? It's all I got, and I'm strangling the fuck out of it. You know what? This sound right now, this is what my podcast would talk like because I got my thumbs wrapped around its fucking throat, pressing deeply on its fucking Adam's apple. I wrote to people on Facebook. I go, what show do you want to hear? What movie? What song? Jesus, I can't even talk. I said, what do you guys want to hear? Like, what episode would you want? And people were real nice. And you know, people keep asking for the 7-Eleven episode and for me, the hiding in the shower episode. Those are great episodes, but I've rerun them a few times. And I will say this, and again, it's just because this is who I am as a performer. It's going to sound ridiculous. You know, those are early on in the show, and it makes me go, oh man, because they're amazing stories and they're totally fucking cool. But it also makes me go, oh man, aren't there any other memorable ones? Which is so fucking stupid and so whiny and dumb. But that's what you do when you're alone in your apartment, you're staring, and you want people to love you. But other people had cool recommendations about like the possum, and I liked the one about the cake. That's a favorite one of mine. I might do that one later. The one where I explained the cake photo. I took a cake photo with a hole in it, and then I had to explain that I went shopping for a banana. It's a long ass fucking story. Mikey, this is for you. Everybody listening knows what the fuck I'm talking about. But Eventually, I'll rerun that one because that's one of my favorite ones. But this time around, I was like, you know what? Let's go back into year 3. One person recommended this, and it made me laugh. And then I listened to the show, and I was laughing out loud at my desk, and then, of course, coughing because I can't fucking do anything without coughing. I'm like fucking De Niro and goddamn Jackie Brown. I can't literally, just now, I can't laugh without coughing. So, but someone said, hey, man, what about that time you got a blowjob from, like, some stranger? And I'm like, hey, that's a good idea. I forget how they phrased it, but I was in an adult bookstore. You'll hear it. So this is episode 3 of year 3. And I don't even remember what was the name of this episode. Let's take a look. Hold on. Let's pull it up. I'm sure I've got it somewhere in here. Episode 3 of year 3. Oh, it's called Normal People Run. And it's a story about a boy and a girl and a booth and a wallet. So, hopefully you enjoy it. And because I know you all enjoyed it in fucking 2010. Let's see if it holds up 6 fucking years later. Thanks for helping Lily keep doing so. Thanks for tolerating me this week. My fucking horrible throat full of goddamn wasps. And it's actually bees. You know what? I got a throat full of bees, and I should just unleash them, but they're in there. That's why this week they wouldn't fucking bail unless they stung me into a fucking oblivion. My fucking throat looks like a bunch of grapes in a fucking cartoon. All right, man, here's me from 2010, episode 3, year 3, Normal People Run. No, that's a bad intro. Normal People Run.
Hey, what's happening, Mike Schmidt, 40-Year-Old Boy Podcast. I don't know what to talk about, and I say that all the time. I understand that, but folks, you have no idea. I come here ready to birth a comedy baby, and then sometimes it's stillborn. We all know that. Sometimes the baby is stillborn. And that's Lily bunched up. She's sad for the fake comedy baby who died. I don't understand that at all. She was just telling me that she has someone stealing her socks. Someone is stealing Lily's socks. There's someone here in the new building who's fond of stripper feet, and he's like, dude, and he bypasses her underwear, which I quite frankly I don't blame him because she only has 2 pairs. She just, most of the time she's free speed bag, but I mean, she's got 2 pairs. What? Seriously? Oh, she's going to go, you're going to pull whale tail out now? She got a whale tail right now. All right, there it is. Black cotton, folks. Enjoy that. Are you supposed to wear cotton? That's not good for ladies, right?
Cotton is good.
Shouldn't you wear like a silky, smooth thing?
Cotton is good. Polyester does not breathe.
But polyester, who wears polyester underwear? Nobody in the world wears polyester underwear. Some homeless person.
Cotton breathes.
Cotton breathes. All right, so folks, remember that. Cotton breathes. That's the name of the show this week. Cotton breathes. It's out of the way. We got it away all right early. Folks, I get a lot of emails from people, a lot of letters. A lot of people send me notes. They skywrite. They will call me, and they'll say to me, hey, Mike, we're trying to get our friends to listen to the 40-Year-Old Boy podcast, but we don't know where to start because a lot of your stories, sometimes there's in-jokes or things are connected, and people have to have a knowledge of the show or a history of the show in order to leap in and find out what you're talking about. And I say to them, how did you get my number? First of all, I often will say, how did you get my phone number? Are you snaking around in Lily's house while you're stealing her socks and then peering through her phone book and taking random numbers and calling people? Is that what you're doing? I don't like it, personally. I think you need to stand down with this activity. Nobody likes you and your befoulness along the phone waves. The phone waves? Phone lines. And by the way, why do I say phone book? Nobody in the world has a phone book anymore. I mean, everybody's phone is a planner. So you can just, literally, it's like beep, bop, boop. Hey, look, here's everybody's information of anybody I've ever met in my entire life. Or you've got Bump. Karen has Bump. You know Bump for the iPod or the iPhone? It's an app. And what it is if you have a Bump and I have Bump, we can bump our phones together and my number will go on your phone and your number will go on my phone. They should have called it iFuck, is what they should have done, because that's essentially what you're doing. That your phones are fucking at that point, and you're sending information, and then you're going to get phone AIDS. Nobody wants that. You gotta seriously, if you're gonna use Bump, folks, use an eye condom, because otherwise your phone is gonna get eye AIDS, and that's not gonna be. It's gonna be IHIV positive, and nobody wants that to happen to their phone. God damn it, because then you're gonna wind up with ear AIDS. All right, and your Bluetooth will fall out. Because your gums will be all, never mind. All right, so I'm an old man. I'm an old man who says phone book. Nobody. There's no such thing as a phone book anymore. It doesn't. There is. I talked about it in year 1, I think. And by the way, let me throw this out there really quick. There's a couple of listeners. There's some listeners. There's a page called the Westside 86 Jokers page, folks. It is a fan page for this show, and it is named very appropriately because everybody in the world knows what that means. This gets back to what I'm saying, where people are like, "Hey, man, how do we get people to listen to your show? Like, you got to know a lot about the show to know stuff." Well, Well, it's funny because, and again, I love this. This is so great that people have a fan page for me. A phone page? Again, I can't get it out of my fucking head. I punch you in the leg 3 times. Because you know why? Because I'm trying to get a new phone at my house. I'm torn. All right, I'm an old man. All right, I have. Bring me back, please. Remember where I'm at.
I will try.
Please do. I'm trying to get a phone at my house. I have a home phone, folks, which is 818. Never mind. And I also have a cell phone. And Karen and I each have a cell phone. My cell phone bill is $170 a month, whatever the hell it is, and our regular phone bill is $100. Okay. Because that's internet along with the phone, and it's that national plan where you can call anybody. I could call fucking Venezuela if I want, and talk to anybody there for it's the same as a local call, that type of deal. Once they realized that they were starting to lose people to as everything was expanding, and now you can the internet, and you can yell out your window and everybody hears you somehow. So now I'm trying to decide whether I should still be an old man and have a home phone line. And I'm like, dude, I got to get rid of my home phone line. But I can't bring myself to get rid of it. I can't, as we all know, last week I talked about how I can't be sad. I'm mean to inanimate objects. I can't do it. I have to kick, like if there's a rock in the street, I have to kick it out. I bring it up and I put it in the grass because I don't want it to get run over all day. I'm weird. I'm a weird dude. But now, like I said, I'm trying to figure out what to do with the phone, and because I have, so I want to get like new internet, but then I live in an old building, and they won't come, and they won't. This is look. I don't understand anything about wires. Okay, I mean, I come here, and Lily has to plug everything in, and she literally, I sit here like a child in a high chair, and she puts the headphones on my head. I'm like, okay, does that work? Is that how okay, that's how I'm supposed to talk now? Am I talking to the phone thing, this fuzzy thing? Like, and I'm not supposed to touch it, am I? This seems weird. This seems counterproductive. All right. How bad did that hurt your ears right there? Didn't that sound? That is the year 2010 equivalent of Quint running his fingernails down the blackboard in Jaws. Right now, there's a town meeting about how to kill this electronic shark, and then Quint comes in and goes and draws that meeting to a close. Again, I'm an old man. I referenced a movie from 1975. God, I'm old. And what was I talking about in the beginning? I had to think about phone books. The fan page. Oh, yeah, let's talk about that for a second. The West Side 86 Jokers are they're my fan page. I know there are other people who have a fan page that has their name in it, and it makes it easy to find. But it's that thing where you can't. I love these people for having set up a page. I'm so excited and happy. And let me tell you, I'm about to cut my own balls off right now because I'm going to sit here and talk about the people who are my fans. But I'm glad that they're my fans. But at the same time, West Side 86 Jokers is like nobody knows what that is unless you listen to the show. And that's why when people talk to me about the show, but you can't tell fans what to do. You can't say, oh, dude, you should name this the Mike Schmidt fan page. Nobody fucking wants to do that because then everybody inevitably thinks that I'm a fucking baseball player with a shock of gray hair. I'm not that guy. I'm an idiot who talks about punching you in the dick. That's who I am. So that's why West Side 86 Jokers works, because it's organic, and that's what it grew out of. It grew out of the actual show. But at the same time, when I tell people about it, they just look at me and they make a face like, what is, I don't know what that is. And I go, you had to listen to the show. So that gets back to what I was talking about, where people will say to me, Mike, we want to get people listening to the show, but we don't know like where the best place to start is because you're kind of all over the place. And I immediately, after I ask them how they get my number, I will then say, why don't you buy year one? Because that will settle everything. Why don't they start at episode 1? And then they'll catch up and be involved. Is there someone knocking on the wall?
It's just making dinner next door.
You make dinner by punching the wall? What is he, tenderizing meat? What the fuck is he doing?
Chopping food.
Oh, he's chopping. Oh, the counter is that close. Oh, man. Folks, I'm in a prison. That's where I'm at. It's that close. Like, you can hear everybody in the other cell, and you hear all their shit going on. I thought my house was bad where I hear Lou doing his... Oh, dude. Fucking Lou... Lou the Racist Bartender is my neighbor, folks. Again, if you're new to the show, I'll tell you about this. Lou the Racist Bartender lives right next door to me, and he for a period of time was having loud sex with a girl, and then she would scream during it, like really loudly, and then she would cry afterwards. And she said, "I always cry after I orgasm." That was actually an episode of year one, which you can purchase, and if you listen to it from the first episode, you'll be all caught up, and then you'll join the West Side 86 Jokers, and you'll know why and who they are. So I can tell you that Lou has decided he stopped having sex with that chick for a long time, and now he's just really angry and yelling at people on the phone and whatever. So I can hear everything he does in his house. He listens to Fox News and he calls Obama racist name, whatever. But he brought home a chick, and he's got like a new chick now. And they had, again, I guess I don't know if he likes the screamers or he makes these chicks do this, but even worse was he was like competing with her now. So he has this really heavy New York accent. So you hear him, he's going, oh God, yeah, oh God, yeah. I'm like, oh, dude, seriously, you need to scale that fucking back. That's awful. But then this is even worse because I can hear him through the walls. That's bad. All right, we can all agree on that. But then he was having living room sex.
Awesome.
Which is, again, nothing wrong with that. Again, I have no problem with it, and I have no problem with loud sex. I just don't want to hear it. You know what I mean? It's like, but I'll turn my TV up or I'll turn on some music. I don't care. But the screamer chick was crazy. She was just, again, she was trying to get a part. I mean, that was insane. But now this other chick, so he gets like, he's getting I'm going to go on record here. He was getting a blowjob in his living room. Okay, I have to go on record. I have to make sure everybody knows exactly where I'm coming from, and I need it to be official. I need to get a notary public to go ahead and make sure this is notarized. So he's getting a blowjob in his living room with his blinds closed and everything. He's in his apartment, but his window is open. His front window. So I mean, I actually hear him, through the wall, and he's being loud. He's like, oh yeah, that's right. Oh my God. Oh, I fucking love your mouth. I love your mouth. And I'm like, oh, dude, look, I don't need to hear that you've got game. I don't need to hear your fucking crazy Doris Day pillow talk. Dude, put a lid on it. I don't know. And again, this might have been a hooker. I don't know, because again, he used to bring home hookers and stuff, and this chick hasn't been there since. Probably because he told the whole goddamn neighborhood that he loves a mouth. Oh, Jesus Christ. Let me tell you, and there's nothing, the only thing worse would be if the Asians in my building, I told you, there's nothing more soothing than hearing Asians arguing in their native language. Well, I can tell you that it's now been trumped by hearing a New Yorker get a blowjob. I can think of nothing more disturbing or horrible than a New Yorker getting a blowjob and going, oh, yeah. Oh, let me tell you something. Oh, oh, my God. Oh, Jesus. That might have been a Boston guy. I don't do accents, folks. I do not do accents. But, yeah, so Lou is, that's creepy. That's awful. So where was I? What was I supposed to come back to? The Jokers. Oh, I wanted to mention this. So there's the Westside 86 Jokers, and they're all very nice, and that's lovely. Thank you. But there are two women that I know for sure, Hannah and Leanna, who are doing a glossary of the show. My friend, a listener named Greg in Australia, put together like a really cool-looking presentation where he took all the liner notes from year one, and he put them together in a almost... I don't want to say an online book, but that's what it looks like. Like he assembled them all, so it's like 35 fucking pages. Because, folks, I am nothing if not finger verbose. I am my fingers. When I start typing, I can't stop myself. I'm a little wordy, and I'm finding this out too as we start to build a website. My website, by the way, is in progress, as we all know. And once it's official, I will tell you. You can go and look at it. But it's looking pretty good. We'll see what happens. I have no idea. Thankfully, Kirk, the guy who's doing it is a guy named Kirk, and he's no longer. He speaks to me on the phone now. He's no longer tired of. He'll write me a note and be like, "Hey, I was a little tired tonight, so I couldn't call you, but I'll call you tomorrow." And I'm like, "Oh God, oh shit." You know what? It's 6:30 here. I'm supposed to talk. Oh, no, tonight I can't talk. I told him I couldn't because I was doing the show. All right, because he wanted to talk tonight, and I told him I couldn't. All right, so Kirk's doing the website, and where was I going with that to talk about? Oh, Hannah. Greg did, how did I spin off it? I don't know. Greg did an online version of my liner notes and stuff, and I kind of called that a glossary for lack of a better word. But Hannah and Leanna are doing yeoman's work because they are listening to the shows and actually compiling them in note form. Like they are. Oh, dude, so Leanna sent me. She goes, "I'll send you what I got. It's in progress." And I'm astonished when I look at it because, folks, you know what? If you don't think it's hard work, go back now and try to catalog the last 12 minutes of what I talked about. I mean, it's like catching rain. I mean, I can't even explain it. So she sent me what they have, and I'm reading through it, and I'm like, oh, I can't even believe that she did it. And she's even like and by the way, I've repeated things more than a few times, and I don't feel good about that because I don't keep track of what I talk about here, folks. So I get all right. So the bottom line is, thank you to them for doing that. Now I'm looking forward to it when it's finished. I don't know who. I can't wait till they do year 2. Jesus, they're just catching up on the end of year 1. But so it's nice of them to do that. But why was I talking about that?
Because you were talking about how people can't jump in the middle.
Oh, okay. Yeah, people want to know where to jump in and listen to the show. And I say, start from the beginning, go to year one. And maybe I'll just send out the cliff notes of, like, in this glossary form, and you can go ahead and read that. But it's literally, it just reads like, Mike, fuck, cock, Mike, this, and then. And it's so funny. Then I'll see stuff, and I'm like, oh, I forgot I even talked about that. And it seems crazy that someone would do that. I mean, it's cool that they want to do it. And it's amazing. Again, it's nose to the grindstone stuff. But then you think about, because I think they're in college. I think both of them are in college. So, what else are they gonna do? Yeah, they're getting high. Lily's like making a smoky smoke face, and they're just getting. But yeah, if you were high, why would you want to write down everything I said? Wouldn't you just want to?
You are so cool, man.
Oh, doubtful. That is absolutely not it. I think it's more of a lab experiment than it is a he's so cool, let's do this for him. I think they're probably just going to turn in some weird treatise about how fucking crazy I am. It just turns out to be, it functions as a glossary of my show, but at the same time, it turns out it's their thesis about this fucking crazy person in Los Angeles. But I mean, you think about the stuff you did when you were young too. I mean, you're like, stuff we do now. Christ, you bedazzle everything in the goddamn house. You've got like fucking rhinestones all over like shoes and hats and fucking your phone for a while.
Career.
And your career?
Yes.
You've rhinestone.
I do that for my career.
Oh, sure you do. Yeah, you rhinestone the shit out of stuff for your career. That makes complete sense. When I was a kid, when ESPN came on, because I'm a huge sports guy, I watched ESPN religiously. And by that I mean I was eating the host while I watched it. I went ahead and I would go to church. And I would keep, some communion wafers, which you can actually buy. Did you know that?
Yes.
You can buy them pre-blessed. So and then they're just, now you're just eating Necco wafers at that point, or not even. It's more of it's kind of a wafer. You ever eat those wafers that are spaced like a spaceship and they got stuff inside of them? That's what communion is. Communion is those wafers, but without the delicious candy center. So it's like Jesus without the payoff. That doesn't make any sense. No, they are Jesus because the host is Jesus.
Jesus.
Candy. Oh, dude, I would eat seriously. If there was chocolate on the communion wafers, I'd go to church every Sunday. Why not? Or if it was made of macaroons, why couldn't Jesus be made of macaroons? Oh, that's Jewish food, though, right? If Jesus was made of macaroons, I would be in church every goddamn week, sometimes twice a week. So anyway, I watched ESPN as a kid. And watching ESPN, there was a guy named Chris Berman, who's still on now. He's famous. But at the time, he wasn't famous. He was just a guy on ESPN who did nicknames. And, at the time, I had never seen anything like that. I wasn't in New York where they had Warner Wolf doing crazy sports. We had a guy named Tim Weigel who gave away Weigel Wieners in Chicago. And, all that, that bad sports shtick, you know how it is. But they all dealt with local sports, and you were lucky to see like 3 minutes of sports on the news. But when ESPN came along, forget about it. I would just sit there and fucking stare at it. It was so, like, MTV and ESPN were the greatest because I'm like, wait a minute, I could watch all my music and then watch all my sports on just two. I didn't need any other channels. As a child, it was just those two channels and then scrambled on TV so I could jerk off to Lady Chatterley's Lover. That's it. That's all I needed to do. And I would, oh my God, that scramble, like you caught one nipple. That was the whole point. You would stare at the scrambled pictures that jumbled around, and you got volume, so you could hear it, and you'd just be, you'd be timing your jerk off, going, I'll try to get to that point, but I'll edge, and then I'll just wait to get until I can see an actual naked chick, and then boom, then I can go ahead and fire hose the place. Because you didn't want to just come to a scramble screen, because that's filthy. You can't do that. You got to have a reason for it. Although not at 13. Fuck that. And not now, even. What am I talking about? I'll jerk off anywhere. I couldn't care less. That's right. Yeah, not here. No, not with people in the room. I won't do that. But I mean, come on. We've all jerked off to stay awake on the road. Yes, we have. All right. So, look, I'm a person who used to drive cross country. That's what I did. And it's like, but you got to be careful doing that because then otherwise, then you're going to wind up with a mess. And you're like, oh, damn it. Because, because let's put it this way. Just stop at the truck stop before you get the mess. Because then you can just go ahead and leave the mess at the truck stop. You know what I mean? And make sure, but, I mean, you don't want to go wandering through a truck stop and everybody's eating, bone-in ham while you've got a fucking hard-on in your pants. You don't want to do that. So you got to try to get to a certain point, and then you're like, all right, I'm going to pull up to a rest area, and then that. But you don't want to do that either, because then there's guys, they're trolling. It's bad. You got to watch yourself. My point, if you're solo road sex needs to remain solo road sex, because there are so many other opportunities where you could, and especially when you're driving through the Michigan and all those places, because there'll be, I will tell you this, there's adult bookstores. At off ramps, and you're like, well, I could probably just go in there and run off a batch really quick. And there used to be this place called the Velvet Touch. I talked about this. There was a million of them all through Michigan, and they were always at highway off ramps. And it just seems so weird when you see those. It's incongruous, because you're driving, and then all of a sudden there's just an adult bookstore, and why do adult bookstores tell you can't jerk off in there? Listen to me. That's all you're built for. Because if you're not going to let somebody come into the adult bookstore and jerk off, then all you are is a rape center. You are the starting line of a rape marathon. That's what you are. Because if you want a guy to come in and just get a hard on and not shoot his load, then you're basically just sending that guy off into the wild with a hard on, and he needs to find something to do with it. You are essentially encouraging rape. So hey, you know what? They need to build a system, okay? Like an indoor plumbing system, but all right, if you've been to an adult bookstore, which maybe you have or you haven't, you're in these little booths, and then there's, your little TV screen. They need to build a trough system that goes through all of the things, and like an irrigation system. That's what it is. It's a sperm irrigation system. So then there's constantly water running through it, and a guy can just jerk off, and then he can, shoot his load into the sperm irrigation system, and it gets carried safely out of the building. Because then, it saves in mop cost. It saves in all of that stuff, because guys are jerking off in an adult bookstore. That's what they're doing. All right. How did I get into that?
Oh my god.
Seriously, because you should encourage. Every time you walk into the huge sign, no su mesta barça, or whatever the hell it is in Spanish, and it's no lewd conduct. It's dude, then why do you exist? Why does this building exist? Why is there a building that has tiny little rooms where you can watch porn in the dark? If you can't jerk off in that building, I don't get it. I don't understand it. So they need to build a sperm irrigation system. Somebody get on that. Because apparently I inspire people to do those sorts of things. If they're going to sit down and they're going to take notes and write down every ridiculous thing that I say, then someone needs to start inventing these ridiculous inventions that I come up with. And I don't want any credit at all. And actually, you know what? No, name it after me. Name the sperm irrigation system after me. That'll be fine. We'll call it the Schmidt tube or something. We'll call it that. I'm excited. I'm doing my part for, I'm fighting against sticky floors, folks. It's the Save Our Shoes campaign. That's what it is. Save our shoes. Because there's nothing worse than walking into the adult, you think a movie theater floor is sticky. Oh, dude, you don't want to be, tripping through a zygote puddle every time you walk into a goddamn adult bookstore. Awful. That's right, yes. All right, so, remember how I talked about birthing a comedy baby? This is how it's done, folks. This is how it's done. You start out talking about, someone stealing socks, and the next thing you know, you're jerking off and there's a sperm irrigation trough. God damn it. This is the intelligent design of comedy. That's how it works. You started about, it's funny, Max, I was talking to Max. So the whole point of all of this rambling and what I was talking about was people were wondering how they should jump on board with this show, where they should get their friends to listen. And again, if you can't buy year one for them, or year two, which will be on sale very shortly, I think, honestly, last week's show is a good place to get people to jump in. I think that's a good place because it's got Mex. I was talking to Mex about it, and he goes, "Dude," he goes, "I don't think you breathe at all in that." And I listened back to it, and I'm like, "Oh, it was because it was awesome. I loved last week's show because it." And Mex said, he goes, "Dude, you know what it's like?" He goes, "The whole beginning of the show is like you're falling down the stairs." And then eventually you land on your feet, and then we get a story out of you. But that's what I want the show to be. I want the show to be kind of organized chaos because this show is intended to be what's in my fucking head. You know what I mean? So and you see stop on a dime, pinwheel this, and go here and go there. And we all do that in our heads. That's the point. Everybody stops on a dime, and oftentimes you'll be like, I like ice cream. Wait a minute, what about geometry? You know what I mean? You'll do those stupid things. Where you're hopping around, you're like, I know this, but I know this. Hey, did I check the mail? Wait a minute, did I leave the stove on? Oh my God, I wanted to bang that chick when I was in 5th grade. You know what I mean? Boom, 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 and you're flying all over the place. And then eventually, you wind up saying whatever you're going to say. Well, that's what I do, but I just do it for all of you to hear for free, sadly. But So if you're gonna, people want to jump in. I think last week's show is a good place to get them started. But quite frankly, I would buy them year one to get them started right from the beginning. I swear to God, there's something else. I will tell you this. Last week there were a few threads that I missed that I was gonna talk about. And then this week, all of a sudden I'm at the adult bookstore and I'm jerking off.
You were talking about cataloging the show.
I was, yeah. I had
West Side 86 Jokers.
Dude, the worst is when you go into an adult bookstore and, like, have you ever done this? Well, maybe you haven't done this.
Oh, I have.
And okay, and you go to open the door and like go into a room and there's like a person in there.
Yeah.
Okay, I had that happened to me one time. I walked into an adult bookstore. All right, and folks, brace yourselves. All right, this is gonna sound bad, but it was so weird. I came in to I was in an adult bookstore and it was should I even tell the story?
Of course.
I don't know if I tell the story.
A guy walks into an adult bookstore. It's a story.
Yeah, it's great. And so I walked in to this. I'm in the back in the adult bookstore, and the thing is, that, the rooms are always in the back where you can go and watch the movies, and there's doors and things like that. Well, some places don't have doors, like down in Orange County, they don't have doors. So, and I've talked about that. I worked at a place like that. Again, get year one. That's where you jump in and listen. I was in an adult bookstore one time, and I went because I was in a place that had doors, and the doors lock. Okay. But then there's a light above the door that tells you if the room is if the movies are playing, if the room is occupied. So that means obviously the room is locked and don't go in there. But I went into this adult bookstore and it was late. I was on the road. What the hell? I'm getting there. You know what? It was funny. I talked about this last week. I was going to spiral off into this. In Madison, Wisconsin, one time, I went into an adult bookstore. I remember I talked about last week how I said, don't ever be ashamed when you go into an adult bookstore because that other guy works in an adult bookstore. I mean, it's terrible. So he's going to be. He's much worse off than you are at that point. And I said, the only one who's worse than them is the guy who invented the numbing cream. All right, so go listen to last week's show. Again, folks, a great place for you to jump in. But I went in Madison, Wisconsin once, and I was working on the road at the club up there, at the comedy club. And within walking distance of the hotel, there was an adult bookstore. Now, look, this is before the internet was in everybody's hotel room. So after I watched SportsCenter, I'm bored out of my skull. And again, getting back to SportsCenter, Chris Berman, I've got to talk about that. I talk about people obsessing about stuff, and these people are cataloging all of my rantings and ramblings. Well, it's just like when I was a kid, man, and I loved ESPN, I would watch Chris Berman, and he would do all of his nicknames, and I wrote them all down. There was no reason to write them all down. I just started collecting them. Ken Magnum Forsch, Bob Air Forsch, Jose Can You See Cruz, Bert Be Home Bly Levin. I mean, I would catalog all of them, and eventually I got, there was about 150. I mean, there was a lot of them, and I started to do them alphabetically. And then I did it by team. Like I started to group them by team, each player and all this. Again, folks, I'm that weird dude. And again, I was a crazy kid. It was either that or jerk off. You know what I mean? It's like, and you can't jerk off all the time when you're a kid. Once 5 or 6 times are over, eventually you got to do something else with your hands. So, God, this is a filthy jerk off show. So, that's gonna get worse. I gotta unfortunately tell you, it's gonna get worse. So, but I needed no excuse when I was a kid. Forget about it. One time I walked to school, I jerked off in a field. It was like I didn't care. I did not care. So I was like, hey, I'm outside. This is awesome. It's like outdoor jerk off. Because there was this on the way to school, I'm walking and you had to cut through this like thing. And it's so funny because if someone stumbles upon me at that point, I'm going to jail or worse. If it's some priest or somebody, it's going to be a horrible scene. Why a priest? A priest and a boy walking to a field. All right, so. So I collected all of Chris Berman's nicknames. I mean, I would do them, psychotically, and I grouped them by team and alphabetically, and then I wrote them. I wrote him a nice note. And I was like, look, I can't believe, praising ESPN and telling him, I'm a 13-year-old kid or 14, 13. And I'm so excited. And this has opened up a whole new world because I loved being able to see, even as a kid, I didn't love the local teams. I loved sports. Like I loved all basketball, all hockey, all football. And I really loved seeing teams from the West Coast. I just was fascinated by it. So to get highlights of everybody and everything was so great. So I wrote Berman, I wrote him this great fan note, and I compiled everything in a list. I said, these are all your nicknames. I've actually listed them out, and I wrote them, and never wrote me back.
Aww.
Still waiting to hear from Chris Berman. He may have sent it, but I never got it back. So that's why when I hear that people are making a fan page for me, And when I hear that people are interested in what I do, I want to talk to them and I want to be a part of what they do. Not in a weird way. Because at the same time, folks, I'll be truly honest with you, I don't want to fucking talk to any of you people. I mean, I'm a guy, I barely want to talk to myself. You know what I mean? I don't talk all week and then I come here and do this and fucking crazily drop all this fucking nonsense on you. As if this is, this is my grown-up equivalent of jerking off in a field. I just show up in a strange place and I fucking shoot all over the place. And I don't care what happens or who sees it. That's it.
Hello there. This is professional television personality Paul Gilmartin. And you're listening to The 40-Year-Old Boy on the Mike Schmidt Podcasting Network. Podcasting is so cute. Have I mentioned I'm on television?
Jazz jagoffs. Jagoffs of jazz. Jazz jagoffs. Jagoffs of jazz. Charlie Parker. A jagoff of jazz. Sun Ra. A jagoff of jazz. Stan Getz. Jazz jagoff. Jazz jagoffs. Jagoffs of jazz.
Bop, hard bop, and bebop. It doesn't matter. They're all jagoffs. Jazz jagoffs on the Mike Schmidt Podcasting Network.
This might be a good time to tell you folks that the show this week has been sponsored by John of www.q-engineer.co.uk. Let's thank John for sponsoring the show.
Woohoo!
In the middle of jerk-off talk.
You get a sponsor?
I have a sponsor, folks, this week, and it's funny because I dropped this again in the middle of this story for a reason. Not really. John is in England. He runs a software company. Again, if you want details, go to www.q-engineer.co.uk and go ahead and send him as much money as you possibly can to go ahead and hire him to do all of your software type stuff. And he wrote me and he's like, hey, greetings from the UK. I think you're funny. How much would it be to sponsor a show? And he runs a small software company called, again, www.q-engineer.co.uk. He decided that he wanted to sponsor the show. And I immediately tried to talk him out of it. Because, again, folks, I am the worst businessman in the history of podcasting, and that's saying something. I mean, I know people who, my friend Paul Goebel records his podcast. I think he actually sets a microphone up across a hill and then climbs to the top and yells his podcast. Like, that's... So saying I'm the worst businessman is really saying something. So John writes me, and I'm actually going to read this because this makes me laugh. This is what I wrote back to John. This will show you how fucking insane I am. So John wrote me this note. Again, I think you're so funny. I want to sponsor the show. I'm not going to get people wanting software. I want to help. My name's John. Cheers. Here's what I write back to John. John, thanks for writing. This is going to be a bit tricky, as I'm probably going to have more questions for you than you have for me. Here goes. And I got to tell you, folks, the reason I do this is because I need to make sure, because I fucked up so many things in the past. By doing the wrong thing, I've made the missteps, I've made everything a big fucking production, and people think I'm strangling things. People think that I just want to get everything on board, okay? Because I hate being left in the dark. Here, this just happened to me, okay? A guy who's a producer on shows that I've worked on before called me and asked me to write a pilot. Okay, so he goes, you know what? I don't know. You're going to come in and meet the big time guy, and this was a big time guy, and I had to go meet him. And then he goes, and what you're going to do is you're going to basically write some jokes. That's basically it. They wanted me to come in and show them what I could do, and it's a show that was in the vein of like what I used to do at Funniest Pets and People or America's Funniest Home Videos. So he said, come on in and do that. I said, okay, great. So I went in. I had to watch some videos. I met the producer, and then I wrote 35 jokes in 90 minutes. I sat down and wrote 35 jokes to match these videos, and tried to do the best that I possibly could. And I turned them in. I cut a scratch track, and I actually voiced them, and then I left. And folks, this happened 3 weeks ago, and I have not heard back from my producer friend. Which again. Obviously, I didn't get the job. Okay, I get that. I understand that. But I would love feedback. I would love to just find out what I did wrong, what I did right. Was I even close? Was I in the fucking neighborhood? And again, do I look crazy because I want to know things? I don't think I'm crazy. And I'm not, because I'm not an idiot. If he calls me up and he goes, hey man, it didn't work out. Here's why. Done. That's all I need. I'm not going to say, well, could I have another chance? I know how the business works. But I don't get not calling. That's what I don't understand. It's like I'm the constantly jilted chick of the fucking entertainment industry. Because I'll try something and then I don't get a fucking phone call and it's like, dude, look, obviously I fucking missed the mark by a ton, but I also want to know how the fuck can I have possibly missed the mark by a ton when I just did what they asked and the stuff I wrote was funny. So I don't know. So again, that's why I need to get everything on board and I like to figure it out. So here's what I wrote John. Number 1. John, would you want to sponsor a certain number of weeks of episodes, or are you looking at a whole season? So already I'm looking at the big upsell right in the first one.
Right.
2, would you have a commercial you wanted to insert into the show, or is this something you'd want me to read from copy? If the latter, would you have your own copy for me to read, or would you want me to write that copy? Again, I think these are just normal questions. But at the same time, if you look at it, this guy just wrote me on Facebook and said, hey, I want to sponsor the show. So then I give him this litany of fucking things. It's like I'm chasing him away. Literally, why would you? I agree with you, but so then, all right, well, wait. All right, it gets worse. Hold on. All right. You're obviously a listener, so you're familiar with what I do. Is it going to reflect badly on you or your company when I talk about punching a baby or raping a guy who breaks into my house? We both know it's a comedy show. I just don't want to see you worrying about what I just said reflecting back on you. And I got to be honest with you, if I talked about raping a baby and punching a guy who breaks into my house, I think that would really be a problem. But punching a baby and raping a guy who breaks into my house, boom, who cares, right? Not trying to scare you with this blizzard of words. I think it's great you'd even consider this. I just want to cover a few points. Just let me know what you think. So he writes me back. He's like, thanks for the fly. I'll answer this as best as I can. Don't overthink it. I was just thinking of something along the lines of this week. The show has been sponsored by John of www.q-engineer.co.uk. Many thanks. That's all he wanted. That's all the guy wanted, but I had to send him this ridiculous thing. Don't overthink it. If I thought it would reflect badly on me, I wouldn't have offered. I fully understand your show. Okay. So then I go, you're right. I absolutely overthink everything. Sounds great. Where in the show would you want the mention placed? During the plugs at the end? The beginning of the show? Would you want me to say anything other than this week the show has been sponsored by John of www.q-engineer.co.uk? Many thanks. Would you care if I goofed on the sponsorship? Not that I'm planning to. Just want to know what's acceptable.
Oh my god.
How many episodes do you want to sponsor? When do you want to start? Again, not overthinking. Getting the basics down before proceeding. Oh, my God. Yeah, at this point, don't you just write me back and go, thank you for your time. Thank you for your time. Not interested. I wouldn't blame him if he did that. So then he writes back, look, mention it at either end of the show or at the end with all your other stuff. He might as well have just written, I don't fucking care. Then he writes, make it a bit longer if you like. I write software and databases and do everything electronic engineering related. Look, in reality, not many people actually understand what I do. Goofing, I have no problem with. Thank God. So he's like, all right, he wants to sponsor whatever, and so I wrote him back and I said, cool, if you'd like, we can start with this week's show. I'll throw it in with the plugs at the end. And you know me, I might even reference it at some other points. And then I went to the website, man. I don't know if this is a company that fixes your computer or builds missiles. I got no fucking idea. QDash Engineer has been established by a successful engineer with nearly 20 years manufacturing experience in military, aerospace, automotive, and commercial market sectors, both in the UK and worldwide. Again, I don't know what that says. Does that say anything at all? It's, again, one of those gobbledygook paragraphs that just kind of says, yeah, I got a company, so what? Process, software, and database design and implementation have featured heavily in the progression to where we are today. Okay. We've worked with some prestigious and conscientious companies and professionals. No doubt Q Engineer has the knowledge and skills to deliver high-performance solutions on time and within budget. Great. So, I can tell you that most of your high-level military, aerospace, automotive, and commercial market sectors are listening to a guy who talks about jerking off in a booth and building a sperm irrigation system. Hey, you know, you're making electrical engineering stuff. It sounds like you can make a rudimentary mock-up of a sperm irrigation system. I personally think that John at www.q-engineer.co.uk needs to get on board and diagram me the plans for a sperm irrigation system. And then we can use some of his high-level military contacts to put that in a military base because, you know, those guys are jerking off all the time, right? I mean, if you're in Bahrain, what do you got to do but fucking jerk off all day and shoot people different than you? And quite frankly, isn't that really what jerking off is anyway? So if John at www.q-engineer.co.uk wants to get on it, then maybe somehow we can get my name on a sperm irrigation system that finally makes sense. All of the previous failed attempts at the sperm irrigation systems can be cast aside as we come up with the gold standard for sperm irrigation systems. Me and John at www.q-engineer.co.uk. Fantastic. So look for that, folks. If you're jerking, you know, the days of jerking off onto the floor are over. John and I are on board, and we're going to make sure not a drop of seed hits the floor. There will be no more sticky floors in adult bookstores, courtesy of me and John at www.q-engineer.co.uk. The man's been in it 20 years, folks. You have to respect his abilities. I can't wait to see the note. He's prepaid, though. He's already, you know what? There's nothing he can do about it. The guy prepaid for sponsorship. You're in, John, at www.q-engineer.co.uk. You're in, buddy. The hell was I talking about before we went to break? Wasn't I supposed to I got the sponsor, and this isn't our first sponsor attempt. We've had, we got some robot that wrote us trying to get us to do like click-throughs or something. They were going to pay us in audio bucks. I don't fucking remember. I don't know what it was, but it was some company. Again, all that bullshit. Hello, podcaster. Would you like us to sponsor your show? All that nonsense. And then we actually, you okay?
Yeah.
We actually got, I mentioned Adam and Eve last week on the show because they used to send me things trying to get me to buy porn through the mail, but they wanted to sponsor the show at one point. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what the fuck happened. Why did they disappear? We wrote them back a couple times. And Christ, if anybody should be sponsoring the show, it should be them, right? Them or Doc Johnson or somebody like that. I mean, you know, I don't know if John at www.q-engineer.co.uk wants to open up a dildo factory, but if he does... Because, again, Adam and Eve were right there with us. They wanted to sponsor the show. But I can't even imagine, what Adam and Eve would I have to mention DVD titles? How would that work? It would just be like, you know, this week, the 40-year-old boy is brought to you by cock. I mean, like, is that how it worked? I don't know. All right. What was I talking about before we went to break? There was something before we had to deal with the sponsorship. I don't remember. There were a bunch of broken threads. Because there were broken threads last week, too. And they were broken. Oh, because you know why? Last week, here you go. Last week I was talking about adult bookstores last week, and I mentioned the guy behind the counter, and I was like, you know, that you can't be worried about that guy. Well, when I was on the road to Madison once, I went into the adult bookstore, and there was a chick working behind the counter, and that'll make you feel weird because it goes two different ways. In your brain, you're like, oh man, this is awkward. She knows we're all here to jerk off, and she's in the but then part of you goes, she's got to be into it, right? I mean, if she's here. I mean, because a woman could get a job anywhere. You could be a waitress, for Christ's sake. You know what I mean? You can go do that. You don't have to be sitting in a sperm shack, right?
Sperm shack?
Seriously. If you're a lady, get moving. But she was obviously a college student there at Madison. And so I walked in, and again, as we all know, I'm awkward. As indicated by when I befriended that hotel desk clerk before I had to fucking slap her husband in the face. Which I love having as an aside to any story. Isn't that great? It's like, you guys remember when I had to slap that woman's husband in the face? Come on, how many among you can count that as one of your anecdotes? None of you, I don't think. And you're better people for it, quite frankly. Believe me, that's not something you want to have on your fucking resume. Slapped a woman's husband in the face and then told a humorous story about it 15 years later. All right. I need to start doing interesting things now. I mean, all these terrible things I did back then when I was a youth, when I was interesting and fun. And now I'm just this guy who comes here and just verbally jerks off all over Lily every week, like she just said. All right. We had to stop a second ago. She had to go change her pants. She was like, why'd you punch me? She just punched me in the arm. You might have even heard it. She's like, I got to go change my pants. I said, okay. I don't know why. I don't know. She's getting a little more comfortable. She's getting loosey-goosey with all the sperm talk. I don't know. So I'm sure right now she's free speed bag. There you go. So where are we at? We're in Madison. That's where we're at. And this is in 92, I think, early 93, probably. It's pre-Karen, so I know that. So I walk in, there's a chick working at the counter, and I see her, and I'm like, I kind of go, oh, that's not good. But again, that weird thing happens in your brain where it's two different things. You're like, oh, that's weird that she's here. Hey, maybe I could bang this chick. You know, like, maybe I got a shot. Because again, I'm on the road, folks. It's late. I don't know what I'm doing with myself. So I do know what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in the back and tune it up a little bit. That's what I plan on doing. So I go into the back. I avert my eyes. I see her, and she's reading like a book. It's right out of a movie. She's reading like a textbook or something. And she was one of the first people I ever saw with the pierced nose. Because this is, like I said, this is in 93 or whatever. And she's got a pierced, like, not the septum, but the nostril. And at the time, I remember that weird, again, because the first time you see it, you're just like, that's fucking weird. Oh my God, how hot is that? Hey, if she pierced her nose, maybe I'll bang her. You know what I mean? Like, I guess what this gets down to is it doesn't matter what a woman does. I think about banging her at some point. Oh my God, she got a job at a bank. Oh, I'm gonna fucking mailroom this chick. All right. That's got to catch on. I said that last week. That thing about the mailroom. God damn. Boom, boom. The slots. Come on, listen to me, folks. If you want to jump anybody in, jump in last week. And if you want to sponsor the show, by the way, contact me via the Facebook or via my other email addresses, and we can get you on board with me and www.q-engineer.co.uk. That's John. All right, John, the rest of the story's for you. I avert my eyes from the hot nose pierced, bohemian chick, and I'm sure she didn't shave her armpits or anything. I didn't fucking care at that point. She was a little cutie, and that's the thing too. She was attractive. Like you would think of maybe like from some fat dumpy chick who would work in the adult bookstore. Like who I would think it would look like. Do you read The Onion? Anybody? In The Onion, they always have they have fake columnists. Like they have Jim Ancower, who's like the stoner guy, and he's like, "Hola, amigos," and he's got all these terrible things. But there's a woman named Jean Teasdale. And she's like a cat lady who's got a husband, but she makes tea cozies or, she just lives that kind of life. And she's got this fat, dumpy photograph. And that's why I would imagine would work in an adult bookstore. But no, this girl was a little cute little bohemian chick who this will mean nothing to anybody, but I'm going to say it anyway. She looked like there was a show called BJ and Dirty Dragon when I was a kid in Chicago, which then became Giggle Snort Hotel, which you might know because it was syndicated. But there was a character named Weird. And they were puppets, and they were puppets with legs, which fucking freaked me out because it was like, puppets are weird. All right, nobody likes puppets, right? We can all agree on that. But they had puppets with legs, so like you would see the puppets talking, and then there was a woman named Mother Plumtree. Again, folks, no one cares, but there was a character named Mother Plumtree, and there was a scene they did where they played "Sweet City Woman." You know that song from the '70s. I don't want to sing it. I won't bore you. And again, that might get my sponsorship pulled if I use lyrics, but. They showed her walking down the street to it. Like all of a sudden she had legs. And it was out of nowhere. It wasn't like they always had legs. It was like, oh, these people are puppets. Holy fuck, she's got legs. How did that happen? Which was creepy. So that Weird was on that show, and he had a girlfriend named Fufu, who was like from space. And that's what this girl looked like. She looked like Fufu. She had like this shock of like short black hair kind of out. And then that little pierced nose. Fufu didn't have a pierced nose, but it was just, that's what she looked like to me. Whatever. I do all this. I identify this all in 5 seconds. Like I walk in, I see her, I'm like, wow, textbook, shock of black hair. Looks like Fufu, pierced nose. Wow, I could bang this chick. Fuck, I can't let her know that I'm here to jerk off. So even back then, my head worked like it does now. So I kind of avert my eyes, and I'm just going to go into the back. And, again, I'm 3 blocks from my hotel. So my plan is to just go in, and I will tell you, I'm not a guy who jerks off in the adult bookstore. I got to tell you that because I feel awkward about leaving medical waste all over the place. Sure, I jerked off in a field. I mentioned that because that's open air. That's biodegradable. It's just going to link in, and I'm sure right now to this day there are fantastic flowers that grow right in that very spot. But I won't jerk off and just shoot a fucking load on the floor. It seems horrible to me. And like I said, it also seems impolite because someone's got to mop all that shit up. That's weak. So that's why we need to build the sperm irrigation system. And that's why John at www.q-engineer.co.uk at this very moment is sitting down and building me a schematic of a sperm irrigation system that we can sell to adult bookstores all across the nation. So I go in the back because all I'm going to do is I'm going to just kill time. I'm basically killing time, and I'm fascinated by porn. And I'm going to then go back to my hotel and ruin everything, okay? I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend, like $5-10, and you don't even know my plan of attack. But that's the bottom line is, I want you to know I didn't go there with the intention of painting the walls. I wasn't trying to gum up the floor because I think that's horrible. I don't jerk off in adult bookstores, but yet I go in them. Okay, not so much anymore, but back then. So I avert my eyes from foo-foo, and I go to the back, and I walk into the back, and I get, change, because there's a change machine right out in the front, and I put a 20 in there, and I get change, and I walk in, and I can't describe, yes I can, it was Caligula in the back room. What? It wasn't a daisy chain, but it was populated because there were rooms that were full. Okay, the rooms, they had the lights on and the doors were closed, but some of the doors were open, and there were people in them, and they were involved in activities that you normally wouldn't be involved in because the signs tell you can't be involved in them. But there's people in the hallway sitting on the floor, like getting high. Like there's young people sitting on the ground, like, and they're smoking dope, and they're all talking. It was like a singles bar with porn, and it was all dudes. Like, as far as I could tell, it was all dudes. So I'm looking around for just an empty room because I can't even believe, because there's guys. You can see that there's stuff going on in rooms, and I'm like, oh, I don't want anything to do with this. I gotta, find it. So I find one empty room, and I go in, and I close the door behind me, and I actually hold the door, because I don't know if they're gonna charge me. What am I freaking out about? But I close and I lock it, and then I put money in, and I'm sitting there watching my little movie, and I can hear people outside, and then people get in the booth next to me, and on the wall next to me, it's opaque. All right, it's not a wall. It's like plastic, but it looks like a shower door. You know what I mean? Where it's opaque. So I'm like, well, okay, I don't know what that is. And then I look, and there's a button next to me, and then I hear a noise, and in the next booth, there's like a rah, 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 and the opaqueness becomes clear, and I can see. It's called a buddy booth. And I can see into the other person's booth because they raised their screen or whatever. And I guess the screen in mine was already raised, and they raised their screen, and there's a guy blowing a guy. And not only that, they want me to check it out because they opened up the screen for a reason. And I'm like, oh, dude. And so I hit my button, and I can close my little thing. So I got to tell you, literally, I'm sitting there, I'm looking at porn, and imagine this, and I just hear, and I hear these guys get in, and I hear, rah, 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 and I turn around, and there's a guy blowing a guy, and I just go, and I reach out and hit the button, rah, 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 and I close my screen, and I can't imagine how disappointed they were that their show has been canceled. I'm a network executive. And I just canceled their show. So at that point, I decide that it's time to pack up. I've only spent like $2, so I got to get the fuck out of there. So I walk out. I leave the machine running like I leave the movies running, and I have to step over bodies and get out of the crazy fucking orgy scene in the back. And I go out in front, and I walk out of there, and I must have looked shell-shocked, like freaked out. Because I go to split, and Fufu looks up from her book, and she goes, "Not your scene, huh?" And I look up, and I go, "What?" Because, again, TV comes to life. I'm weirded out that anybody's talking to me. And she goes, "Not your scene back there?" And I go, "Oh, oh my God, have you been back there? Like, it was the weirdest. And she just goes, I try not to go back there. And so then I wind up talking to her for like an hour and a half. Because again, I'm killing time. I don't want to go back to my hotel room, and I'm still a little shaken up from the entire experience. But the whole time that we're talking, I can tell you, people kept going back there, and nobody was coming out. So you know that old prank in college when they used to try to jam as many guys as they could into a phone booth? I think they were doing as much as they could to jam as many guys into a porn area. Eventually, I would have gone back there, and I'm sure it would have just been stacks of bodies on top of one another. Just this naked, writhing pile. You know that guy who gets everybody to take their photographs off for big, naked public photographs? That's what it looked like, but with no camera to record it. Maybe that guy went to Wisconsin. He would have gone to UW. That guy went to UW, and he got the idea from walking in and going, wow, look at all these fucking naked people. Hey, maybe I can take photographs of them in a parking lot. But I wound up talking to Fufu, whose name was Audrey. And you know what? It's funny, because I said, like, Audrey Hepburn, and she was like, yeah. And then as I thought about it, I'm like, you know what? That's probably not her real name. Like, because she sort of looks like Audrey Hepburn because she's a little tiny little twig Winona Ryder looking chick who looked like Fufu. So she probably adopted that name. And why would she give her name to me? But then when I told her I was a comedian and stuff like that, then she kind of like because she wanted to talk to me. It was like weird. I think because she felt she was like talking me down after what had happened. I was like a hostage being decompressed. And we wound up talking. So she was real nice. Audrey was her name, and I told her to come to the show. And of course she didn't. But this was Thursday, okay, and we were there Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And I was going to drive home Saturday. So then Friday I finished my show. We did 2 shows, and I go back to my hotel room, and I'm like, all right, well, I got to go back. That's what I do. I'm going to go back to the old bookstore. What the hell? I mean, because I thought I kind of hit it off with Audrey. I mean, I hit it off with Fufu. And she was working. She said she was working all weekend. So I'm like, well, okay. Because I had asked her to come. All right. I had asked her to come to the show. She said she was working all weekend. I said we did 2 shows on Friday, 2 shows on Saturday. And she said she would try to make it, but she was working. So I was going to go in and talk to her. Is this going anywhere? I'm talking in circles.
Yeah.
All right. I'm sure it is. Yeah. Don't mock me. So, yeah, that's what it was. So then I go down there, and I actually did. I wore my show clothes too, because I had show clothes at the time. Yes, I was a very attractive young man. So I go down to visit Fufu, and I show up. And a fat floppy guy behind the counter. And I walk up and I go, hey, is Audrey working? And he looks at me and he goes, Audrey? And I go, oh, the girl who was working last night. And he goes, oh, Audrey. So I don't know if he's like playing along now. And he goes, no, she actually took off early tonight. And now I'm sad that she wasn't at the thing. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, well, I got nothing better to do. So I go in the back, and it's not nearly as crowded as it was the night before. All right, there's nobody sitting on the ground. They're not all playing. They're not building a campfire and singing Kumbaya and having a seance. What the fuck all of these guys were doing sitting on the ground? Apparently Thursday is that's the place to be. But Friday, they all go to the bars. I guess. I don't know why. But I walk back there, and also it's a little later, I should say, because the Thursday there was 1 show, so I got down there at like 11 o'clock or 10:30, and now it's like 12:30 or 1. So I walk in, there's really nobody in the back. There's the rooms are all lit up. There's people in the rooms, and then there's a door that's open with the light on. So what happens is sometimes you'll go into the adult bookstore, and here's the thing. I'll tell you this. Guys will show up and jerk off, and then they'll leave. But they'll leave movies playing because they put money in, and they just happen to finish a lot sooner than they thought they would. Yes, folks. I know that. I know this because, again, I used to work at these places. I've been in them several times. So I figure, all right, well, cool, free movies. I'm going to go ahead and go in there, and I have some money with me, but I'll get to watch a few minutes at least of free movies. So I go in there, and I open the door, and I go to walk into the booth, and there's a woman in there in the booth. First of all, again, second woman sighting at this fucking place. Unheard of. Never happened. And I walk in, and there's a woman in there, and I'm just like, whoa. I go, sorry. She goes, close the door. Now, normal people run in this instance. Okay, normal people take off. But I go, what? And she goes, close the door. Now, I'm not thinking that, honestly, if I close the door, she could immediately start screaming rape. I mean, any horrible thing could happen at this point. But, folks, I'm adventurous. I'm not the type of guy to start a book and then put it away unread. I'm going to follow this to wherever it's going to take me. So she goes, close the door. And so I close the door. And she pulls her shirt down and pulls her tits out. And I'm all of a sudden, look, you know that feeling you get when you think you might be getting somewhere with a girl? Like you're in a bar and it looks like it's going well and you're thinking, hey, maybe I got a shot at taking this girl home. Imagine that if it all hit you at once. Because all of a sudden she's like, close the door, I close the door, and then she pulls her tits out. And I immediately went, fuck, am I going to fuck this chick? Like it was the weirdest logic ever. And she pulls her tits out, and I just kind of look, because again, you want to be the Mac at that point. You want to be as smooth as possible and just go, well, you have lovely breasts. I mean, you know. But in reality, you're just standing there with your mouth open like, because you don't know what the fuck's going to happen. And quite frankly, she's driving at this point. Any woman who's in this position, she's driving. Because you can't, like I said, you can't just go, well, I hope that you'll slide your skirt up. I mean, there's nothing you can say at that point. You're in a darkened booth with porn on a screen and a woman pulls her tits out. You're just standing and you're waiting to see what she's going to do. Because I will tell you, I had that presence of mind. I wasn't going to touch her until she made a move for me, because the last thing I'm going to do is if she pulls her tits out and then I go, oh, those are great tits, and I put my hands on them and then she goes, oh, rape. I mean, again, I'm not about to get caught in that trap again. That's funny. So she pulls her tits out and I'm just looking at her, and she reaches over and just grabs I tell you, I said I was wearing my stage clothes. Folks, I have Zubas on. Okay. This was the time of MC Hammer. This is when you wore your loose-fitting pants. You didn't care about it. You were letting things go. You were letting yourself be free. I didn't have jeans or a belt on. I didn't have slacks on. I had these Zubas, and they were gold and black. Like they were like, but not overt. Like they were more black with like a little bit of gold in them. I can't even explain it, but they weren't crazy. Trust me, they weren't crazy. I wouldn't have worn them if they were crazy. But I had a black, I had a baseball hat, my White Sox baseball hat on, and a shirt, jacket. And she reaches over, and because they're, Zubas, they have no belt and they have no zipper. So she grabs them by the waistband and she pulls me over by my waistband. And in one motion, like kind of like Adebisi, raping Shabetta, she reaches over, pulls me by the waistband, and I come forward, and then she yanks them down and just grabs my cock. And again, I'm dumbfounded. Like I got my hands in the air, like almost like I'm being held up. And she doesn't pull them all the way down, but I'm just out. And she then pulls me forward, and she looks up at me, and she starts blowing me. Okay. So I went from having an intellectual conversation for 2 hours the night before with a history student to the next day I'm getting blown by this chick in the dark. Like and she's going down on me, and I'm just standing there, and again her tits are out, and she's working those pretty good. Like she's this is her deal. I mean, she's into it, and she had an idea of what she was going to do. So she's going down on me, and I'm looking down on her, and I'm kind of blocking the screen, so I move aside and because I want to, why not? I'm going to check out the movie while I'm in there. So she looks up at me, and it looks like she's crying. Okay. And so I immediately I'm like, all right, you know what? You should get out of here. And then I'm like, well, you could just stop looking at her face. So I instead, I go ahead and watch the movie. Because, again, I'm not making her do anything she doesn't want to do. So maybe she's just crying because she's like, this is the greatest moment of my life. She realizes that anonymous sex with this guy in Zubaz is the pinnacle of her achievement. So she's going down on me, and then she stops manipulating her breasts with her hands, and she starts working. She grabs my legs, like, and she's doing this weird thing where she's really kind of like massaging my thighs, but like holding like my zubas, and she's doing this and that. And, I can't even explain it, folks. There's a whole show going on at this point. You know what it was like? It was like getting blown while you're in one of those 1950s exercise machines with the belt and the engine that goes. That's what she's doing. She's blowing me, but she's holding on to my thighs, going like and shaking my whole body. And she's like gripping me, and she's really into it. And I'm just, and again at that point, you're just holding on for the ride. I look like the diver in the beginning of Jaws, when the shark grabs her and just starts swimming, and she goes flying, and she doesn't know what the hell's happening. All she knows is she's shooting through the water at high speed. That's what I'm doing. I'm just holding on to the booth, trying not to get fucking tackled. And because believe me, the last thing I want to do is fall down on this floor, because who knows what the fuck's going on, because nobody has developed the sperm irrigation system just yet. Because I can tell you that John at www.q-engineer.co.uk back in 92, he was still dreaming of getting together with the Q Engineer people and getting his company off the ground. So he hasn't built the sperm irrigation system yet at that point. So I'm holding on. She's going to work. She's fucking, half tackling me. She's got a mouthful of my fucking crank. And I'm looking down, and like I said, she's got her face. There's like tears, or her face is. I don't even want to look. So I look at the movies, and it's getting to that point. And I will tell you this: I'm a polite lover. So I don't like to surprise anybody, folks. I mean, I'm going to let them know what's happening. So I say to her, I go, hey, I'm going to come. I'm going to come. And I don't want to say it loud because, again, I'm in a building. Like the last thing, I'm not Lou, okay? I'm not going to go fucking yelling it for everybody to hear. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I just say it. So I go, hey, I'm going to come. And she pulls back, stops with the crazy hand thing, and reaches up and grabs me and looks up at me with her face streaked with tears, and then pulls me out and shoots me all over her face.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And as she's doing it, I realize that those weren't tears on her face. I probably wasn't the first guy to get this treatment tonight. Because I look down, and it's like on her forehead, and it's like that's her thing. That is her thing. And as special as I thought I was, I got a feeling I was just the guy who stumbled into it. I was just the next guy in line. So that's her thing. So she all over her face and leaves it there. That's her thing. Like that's what she wanted. And then she like lets go of me. And then she just turns her head and starts watching the movie. Doesn't say anything to me. Doesn't say thank you or, and I got to be honest, I'm not going to kiss her. And I'm just like, and I don't, again, I look down at her and she won't even look at me. She's not making eye contact. And also she's not toweling off. And so I hastily tuck myself back into my Zubas. And I just kind of like back out, and I go to split. I leave. And I'm just fucking shaking. My legs are wobbling. I'm not going to lie to you. Because it just kind of happened all so quick. And I certainly didn't expect it.
Oh, fuck.
So I walk out, and when I walk out, there's more guys back there. There's more people in the room. So I split, and I walk out into the common area, into the actual adult bookstore itself. And the fat guy looks at me as I walk out, and he just smiles and nods. So I don't know if he was the first guy, or if I mean, I have no idea, what's going on. So I just look at him and I just kind of like smile and I'm like, yeah, whatever. And I go to split, and as I go to walk out, I reach down, and my wallet's gone.
Oh, fuck.
It was in my pocket of my Zubas because I don't have a back pocket in my Zubas. I only have front pockets. So I go, oh. So I fucking turn around and I immediately make a beeline for the back, and I walk back and I open the door. There's already another guy in there, and he's like, occupied, which made me laugh, like it was a photo booth. And I'm fucking furious. All right, so I open the door and he says occupied, and I move him out of the way. I grab him by his shoulder and I shove him. And she's sitting on the ground. And I should tell you this. I hope it was a girl.
Oh, no.
She had tits.
Oh,
She didn't have an Adam's apple.
Oh, God.
And she had small hands with painted nails. But, she never got up. And I didn't check anything. So let's all, for our intents and purposes, let's all hope it was a chick.
Oh, fuck.
But sure enough, I fucking physically shoved this guy out of the way to where, his cock comes out of her mouth. Like she was blowing him, and I push him out of the way. I'm surprised he didn't go, like that. Because he's fucking, she's going, blowing him, and I move him, and I go, where's my fucking wallet? And she like gets like wide-eyed, and I go, where's my fucking wallet? And she looks up at me, and the guy like kind of shoves me, and I go, calm, and I fucking push him against the wall of the booth. I go, calm down. Where is my fucking wallet? And she goes, I don't know anything about your wallet. What are you talking about? And she goes, well, maybe it fell out. Yeah. And then I see her. She has a purse, and I fucking can see her do it, even though it's dark in the booth. She's got a purse, and she tips the purse over, and my wallet falls like onto the ground. And she goes, see, it must have fallen on the ground. It must have fallen on the ground. And I just fucking grab my wallet. I open it. And meanwhile, the other guy's still standing up with his dick out. And now we're all jammed in this fucking booth. And she still, by the way, she still looks like a candle melted all over her face.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And I open up my fucking wallet, and I look, and all my money and everything's in there. And I just go, thanks. I take my wallet and I walk out.
Oh, Christ.
And I'm just like, I didn't have the presence of mind to go carry on or anything like that. And I should have looked at the other guy and said, watch your wallet. I should have done anything. I wish I'd had a pithy remark, but I was still fucking, honestly, my legs were still shaking from the entire experience. So I'm back there, where the fuck's my wallet? Because I was so mad at myself. It was like when I got beat at 3-card money, and I told you about that. It was my own fault. I got in that situation. Well, this was my own fault too. Like literally, she closed the door. She's blowing me in 5 seconds. And I just fucking ran with it, but she got, where's my wallet? So I grab my wallet and I go to split, and the fat guy's still behind the counter, and he just smiles again, and this time he winks at me like, uh-huh. And I'm like, dude, what the hell? So I walk over, and I notice under the counter, there's security cameras.
Oh, Christ.
He can see everything that's going on in the back. They don't, it doesn't look like you can see in the booths, but he can certainly see what's going on in the hallway and all that stuff. So then a part of me is wondering if he's in on it with her, and they're scamming wallets together. I have no idea. Someone needs to come up with a software system where they can record what's going on in those booths to prevent that sort of crime from happening. My money is on John at www.q-engineer.co.uk developing some sort of software system where he can prevent people who are getting blown from getting their wallets stolen. Get on it, Johnny. You guys can get me at Mike at MikeSchmidtComedy.com. You guys can get me at Facebook.com/the40-year-old-boy. You can send me messages there and also be my friend there and read my wall. There's plenty of graffiti and fun stuff. And also you can be my follower, be my disciple. Go be a Twitter disciple, folks. Twitter.com/the40-year-old-boy. But do not betray me, Judas, because I was very disappointed. And then I will come back in 3 days on Twitter and haunt you. Isn't that what he did? Jesus, he was a ghost, right? And he came back and haunted Judas.
He's on me.
Jesus is a zombie. We learned that in the first season. By the way, year 1 is available, folks. And that's if you want to jump in with the show, as I've mentioned, you're going to want to jump in right at the beginning of year 1 or last week. You can either jump in right at the beginning of year 1 and follow all along, or you can skip the first 2 years entirely and jump in last week. It's your choice. And you guys can also follow our friend Lily Von Stupp at Twitter at twitter.com/Lily Von Stupp. And you can follow her at twitter.com/MNTs to get information about something I will tell you about later. And if you want to reach her personally, you can send her an email at lily@burlesque411.com. That's Lily, Lili, at burlesque411.com.
Hey, all you fans of the 40-year-old boy. Mike's got new stuff to sell you. Stuff he hopes you'll enjoy. Just what's for sale. Of course we do not know. All we can tell you
Is where you should go.
Zazzle.com, 40-year-old boy. Zazzle.com, 40-year-old boy. Zazzle.com, 40-year-old boy. ZAZZLE.com.
Is your business
What kind of stuff's for sale? We already told you we don't know. 'Cause Mike made us record this song way back in February. So we can only speculate just what Mike will try to sell you. Maybe his face on a tambourine or his own line of gardening equipment. Zazzle.com, 40-year-old boy. Zazzle.com, 40-year-old boy. Zazzle.com, 40-year-old boy. ZAZZLE.com.
maybe his own line of high chairs?
ZAZZLE.com.
His face on your personal massager.
I want to remind all of you folks about the Monday Night Tease burlesque show every Monday night at the 3 clubs on Santa Monica and Vine. It's at 10 o'clock. Again, if you follow twitter.com/MNTs, you'll get any and all information that you will need, along with flyers and tickets and all that kind of stuff. Well, Lily,
Yes, he?
who's there this week?
Rob the Balloon Guy?
Rob the
Hosting.
Balloon Guy is the host. Does he do, is it balloons from beginning to end, like he does balloon tricks the whole time?
No, actually, he's going to be doing magic and comedy.
He does magic and comedy. Will he do balloons too, though?
I don't know if he will or not. I
Then
hope so.
he might want to think about a different moniker.
But that's his name.
Well, fine. Then you better fucking be the balloon guy. If you,
I'll make
folks,
a balloon trick.
if
I'll
you're
make
Rob
a
the balloon guy, don't you expect some balloonery out of this guy?
Balloon.
I would. If he's Rob the magic and comedy guy, boom, done. If he's Rob the hosting guy, boom, done. But now he's Rob the balloon guy, so you better bring your balloonery, pal.
He's going to balloonery us.
All right, there better be some. So he's
And
hosting.
Miss Luna Rose is back.
Miss Luna Rose.
She's from London. That'll be her last performance in the States.
Luna
before she goes
forever?
Hopefully she'll be back with us sometime late in the year.
Now, when she, the difference between Luna Rose, of course, being from England, when she strips, she pulls off all of her clothes on the left side first. So, right? Because that's where they drive. Yeah, it was a tough one on the fly.
Wow.
Because I wanted to think about how she stripped with an accent. You know what I mean? I was like, well, that or even worse, because of the bad dentistry, like she pulled out one tooth at a time. I couldn't figure out where to go.
I know what the difference is.
What is it?
We wear pasties. She wears nipple tassels.
All right, you wear pasties, and that's what they eat for breakfast.
Yes.
Yeah, they eat sausage pasties for breakfast or whatever. That's what it's called, pasties or pasties.
Yes. And they wear nipple tassels.
Nipple
which we eat.
tassels, which we have for breakfast, if we're lucky, folks. So go see Luna Rose and Rob the Balloon Guy at the Monday Night Tease. And Lily's very excited because she just booked one of the legends of burlesque to come to town. Satan's Angel will be there when?
May 17th.
May 17th she'll be there. So go watch some grandmother take her clothes off. All right. In an artful way. She strips better than any grandmother in the world strips. So go check that out. What? I'm sure she's great. I look forward to avoiding that show. All right.
Anaphylaxis is back from London, and she's going to be throwing axes that night, too.
Anaphylaxis will be, like an axe throw? Like really axe throwing?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And strips at the same time.
Folks, you hear all this stuff in the background? Go ahead and follow twitter.mnts or become Lily's friend at facebook.com/Lily Von Stupp, and you'll get all of this information. And I won't have to bog you down with it here. Go ahead and find out about it. Actually, there's a listener coming to town who wrote me and was like, "Could you host the show when I'm in town?" So we might have to talk about that.
Okay.
Speaking of that, folks, I want to remind you that the one-man show is still in progress, still being thought of. So I'm taking your feedback on what you think should be in the one-man show. I want to thank everybody who sent as much feedback as they have. It's great. I've gotten people who've said, "Hey, you know what? You should talk about this," to people who literally it'll say something like, open, spotlight, in stage, curtain, dry. Like, these people have fucking gone ahead and plotted out the entire thing. And a lot of great ideas, a lot of cool feedback. So it's nice to hear from people and hear what stories that they want to hear. And it's funny because there are some people who have written and they want to hear stories that I told on other podcasts that I might not have gotten to here. As a matter of fact, there was a story. The original plan today, folks, was I was going to tell a story that I've never told on my podcast that I told on a previous podcast called Never Not Funny.
Oh.
You might remember Never Not Funny is a show that I used to do with Jimmy Pardo and Matt Belknap. I was one of the cast members for the first season, and then they politely told me that things would work better without me, which is fine. I understand their philosophy. I understand what they wanted to do. What they wanted to do was cut Anchor and get famous. So that's what they did. I've covered this in a previous show. But I should tell you, I have not been on Never Not Funny since the first season. I have not been a guest on that show since episode 59 was my last one, until this week. Because...
What?
Yes. I got... Jimmy Pardo asked me if I would be a guest on Never Not Funny this week. So I said yes, after honestly thinking about saying no. Like, I was going to be a petulant baby and be like, no, I covered all this and Smells Like Thursday in year 2. And then I went, stupid. These are your friends. This promotes your show, and you like nothing more than talking to your friends. Why would you even think about saying no? But you get that flash. I mean, look, you've listened to this show. I think we all know that I'm nothing if not impetuous. So I immediately decide to be all spiteful, and I'm like, no, I can't even think about it. And I'm like, dude, you're the idiot who drove in the middle of the night to try to get someone to even say hello to you at a taping of their show. Why would you even think about not doing it? Because, it was really nice. Jimmy and I, they had I will tell you this. You're going to listen to the show, and when I did the Smells Like Thursday episode of my show, I talked about when I was going to go on Never Not Funny, and if I was going to go in and basically burn the place to the fucking ground and bring up all of my grievances and talk about whatever, and then they asked me to do this show, and I thought about having that happen, and I went, you know what, dude, why would you bring real life to their show? Because if you know anything about Never Not Funny in the past couple of months, real life has intruded far too often on that show. And they do a funny show. Why would I even go on there and think about busting balls or being a dick? So I wanted to go have a good time with my friends, and that's exactly what I did. So go ahead, and if you don't already subscribe to Never Not Funny, you should, because quite frankly, it's the best podcast in the world. I mean, it was great when I was on it, and it's done nothing but move laterally since I left. But still, luckily it hasn't dipped below the threshold that we set. So it was always great when I was on. And then after I left, it maintained its greatness. Let's put it that way. It just took a whole lot of other voices to do it. So the cool thing is you should go subscribe to Never Not Funny. If you go to podcast.com, you can go ahead and subscribe to the show there. And you can get the first half hour for free, but I got to warn you, dude. The second you go ahead and commit a half hour to listening, you're going to want to buy it. Because I think it's $25 to subscribe for video. And by the way, video, let me tell you that. I'm sitting here with Lily. Lily's in mismatched socks. I'm at a Makita work table as we talk in the middle of a hotel that was literally the first building built in Hollywood. I go to Never Not Funny. Now, I used to do that show out of Jimmy's house. But since I left, again, folks, they are the Jeffersons of podcasting. Because they have, not only are they moving on up, but they have their own Mr. Bentley. That's right. They have an intern. A fucking intern for a podcast. I busted his... I'm like, come on, seriously, dude? And even Jimmy, sheepishly goes, I don't even know why we have him, but we do. But they have an intern. They got a video guy. They had a 3-camera shoot. You're filming me and with Bedhead talking about pizza. But for some reason, People want to fucking pay for it and do. And trust me, the second you listen to the first half hour of any of those shows, you will buy it. Because again, $25 for 26 episodes of brilliance. How could you pass that up? You go see a movie, it's $12. You go pay for dinner with somebody, it's $25. One meal, you get a fucking half a year's worth of entertainment. So I would go to podcast.com and subscribe if I was you. But I'm me, so I didn't have to. I got a bonus. I did the show, and they said, "Hey, guess what? Take this." I will tell you this though. This was a funny part. I wanted to bust again. I you know who I am. I'm the kind of guy. Like I said, I didn't want to burn the place to the ground, but it doesn't mean I leave my flamethrower at home, folks. So there was a part when you listen to the show, you'll hear we were talking about the Three Stooges, and Jimmy made fun of the Three Stooges, and I was like, "Dude, come on! Don't even try to pretend like you didn't like the Three Stooges." And he was like, "Come," he's like, "They're never funny," and I'm like, "Dude." Because Jimmy's that guy, and I told him that. I go, you know what? You're the kind of guy who, because other people liked him, you decided you didn't like him. Like, men liked it, and you were like, oh, it's beneath me, I don't want to like it. And he goes, you know what? In fairness, you're probably right. And then he goes, and he said something about, how could I said I hated Shemp, and he goes, how could you hate Shemp after the brilliance of Curly? And he made fun of it. I go, dude, Curly was genius. And he just made a face. And then I wanted to go, the thing is, the Three Stooges, and I didn't say this on the show, but I wanted to, but I didn't get to, because on my show I can just talk. But on his show, he's running it, so he steered it in a different direction. But I was going to say, dude, look, the Three Stooges, they were the first example of a group who held on far too long. Okay? Because as far as I'm concerned, if you have three people and they're very successful doing something and one of those people leaves, the other two should shut it down immediately. I think if you've got three people and you are known for something and you're very successful at doing it, and then one of them happens to get fired by the other, I think you should immediately shut down the production and never think about moving forward. God, I wanted to say it, but I didn't get to because we wound up going to a different, because again, with those guys, Jimmy and I work fast, and so we wound up on another topic and kind of ping-ponged into something else, but man, did I have a great time. I had a really good time doing the show. It was weird. I'm not going to lie to you, because I'm used to doing this show and just fucking talking by myself. But then fitting right back in with their dynamic, man, it was great. I was so honored to be asked and so happy to, just to talk to my friends again. It was really fun. So go listen to Never Not Funny this week. Podcast.com is where you would go and subscribe, I believe. And you can also get the first half hour in iTunes, but I warn you, you're going to hear that and go, I got to buy this. So that's going to happen. And I also want to mention, I don't think I got to this yet, but I want to go ahead and make sure that I mention that this week the show has been sponsored by John of www.q-engineer.co.uk. Many thanks. So go ahead and visit John for all of your military, your aerospace, your software needs, database design and implementation, bespoke software solutions for any application. They've got experience in both large and small software solutions in ASM, C++, C number sign. I don't know what the fuck that means, but they got it.
Pound.
C pound? Is that what it is? Good for you. Basically, the guy writes software and databases. He does everything electronic engineering related, including figuring out a way to keep guys getting blown from having their wallets stolen. So if you need that implemented, go ahead. But I must warn you, please do not try to get him to help you with your sperm irrigation system, because he is very busy in partnership with me, and we are going to clean up this town literally. So please, next time you are anywhere and you see a trough that you can go ahead and deposit sperm in, you go ahead and know that the good folks at www.q-engineer.co.uk were the geniuses that kept that floor clean. They were the masterminds at figuring out exactly how to... Why do I spit out this random bullshit that nobody fucking cares about? I am peddling obscenity. I am going to get a whole fucking army of you people, and you know what we're going to do? We're going to listen to me and then do nothing for an entire fucking week. I can't be trusted. Don't you people know this? It was like the Back to the Future of suck. I don't want to have a boner in somebody else's pants. I need to shoot up heroin and jog. Hey, ass fuck, are you listening to anything that I'm saying to you? Fuck, somebody's got to shut that old guy up. And I'm like, fuck you! I'm not a potato! I'm a goddamn cantaloupe! Hi, Mike. Hi, Mike. Hi, Mike. Hi, Mike. Hi, Mike.